Hey, good day to you. This is Stan Prochowski with Prochowski Estate Law, and this is the Ask Stan show every Thursday at 12 noon, where I answer all your estate planning questions submitted throughout the week. If you have a question about wills, trusts, Medicaid pre-planning, Medicaid crisis planning, the nursing home, or just estate planning in general, just send them to me here on Facebook or call me at 363-7222 or email me at prochowskiestatelaw@gmail.com. I'll answer them live on WKSR Radio, and we post them here on the Ask Stan show every Thursday. So, let's get right to it.
Stan Prochowski, you picked a good song this morning. Turn, turn, turn. Welcome in.
Yeah, it's a good one. Good start the day off, beautiful weather. We're having a good time. Hey, I want to get started with the segment because I know Miss Tammy wants to talk about what's finally going on at the theater. We're finally back in action. So,
okay.
Hey, listen, last week, a little progressive topic, because last week we talked about, I brought up the people asked the question. I always talk about avoiding probate, and we went over the reasons why probate is something to avoid. And I pretty much narrowed it down to 4 big disadvantages. And we ended the session with your question, okay, what's the alternative? And I said, well, it's a trust-based plan. And that's what I'm talking about today. And I want to show how if you do have a trust-based plan, it solves each and every one of the difficulties or disadvantages associated with the probate process. So basically a trust plan is like an agreement. It's an agreement you enter now during life, which is where it gets its name, living trust. And you enter this agreement and you put your property into it, or you vest the property with the trustee. That's what they call in the trust. And that's what creates the probate avoidance tool that we're trying to get. So at death, this instrument, just like a will, distributes property after death. And so at death, it doesn't take 12 to 16 months like the probate process does. A trust can be administered immediately. As soon as the heirs are ready to deal with it after a death, it usually takes, days to maybe a week or 2 at the most to distribute, property.
Like I asked you last week, you may remember, why does probate take a long time? And also, why does a trust plan not take a long time?
Well, last week when you asked that question, I said, the first thing you do in probate is you got to get your executor sworn in. You got to carve out a 4-month period for creditors. Then there's other duties and obligations for the creditor to do, all approved and monitored by the court. It just takes a long time. When you have a trust plan, we designate somebody called a successor trustee, and we empower them now during life to do all that stuff. So at the moment of death, the successor trustee is instantly in that role. Doesn't have to go to the court, get sworn in, pay fees, sign the affidavits. He's automatically in that role and is empowered with the full force and effect of our trust code to distribute that property in accordance with the terms of that trust. So they can just hit the ground running, start doing it, and no court intervention. You can do it privately. Like I always tell folks, you can do it around my big conference table, or you can do it around your own kitchen table. It's that simple. The other thing we talked about was the cost. Probate, we said statistically anywhere from 5 to 10% of the estate. It's kind of a wide range. It's all over, but let's talk about some real money if you get a couple $100,000 estate. So it's expensive, and trust plans not so much.
Again, same question from last week, Stan. Who pays the cost associated with a trust plan?
Well, when we talked about probate, I said you don't pay that. That comes out of your estate, and it's money that comes out of your estate that does not go to your heirs. So it's indirect cost to you. But when you do a trust plan, like I said, it's an agreement you put together now during life. So that is a cost to you during life, because you have to hire someone like me to draft the thing. But it's a fraction of like 1% of the cost of probate. It's much, much cheaper. It's just a difference of when that cost is paid. The third thing I brought up, remember I said this really bothered me from all my years in criminal defense law, but some people don't, it doesn't bother them so much, but the entire probate process is public by procedure. In other words, I said, if something happened to you, Butch, and your estate was probated, anybody can walk in, just pull it out and take a look at it. It's completely public.
So just anyone cannot go look at my estate at the courthouse?
Yeah, if you had a trust plan, nothing's published with the court. It's completely private. Nobody has any, if you wanted to tell people before you pass away what's in your will, that's up to you. What's in your trust, that's up to you, but it's absolutely private. There's nothing in the procedure that requires it to be disclosed anywhere. So it's completely private versus public. And the last thing I said was the biggest disadvantage of probate that I think, and that is when we get to the end of the 12 to 16 months, all the costs, all the public of the documents, we finally get to the distribution where people get their stuff. And that is an outright distribution with no terms or conditions, no strings attached. You just get it. I call it ownership is complete. When you distribute property in a trust, different story. You can put as many terms and conditions on it as you want. Like you could say, hey, here's $50,000, but you have to get an education with it.
Okay.
If you don't get the education, you don't get, all kinds of terms and conditions. You can put anything you want on here as long as it's not an illegal purpose. We can satisfy it. So any problems you're having with the family or any issues you have with people inheriting money, we can put some protective stops in there to make sure that it doesn't get used for those things you don't want it used for, and it gets used for the stuff that you want it to get used for. So anyway, that covers the four biggest disadvantages of probate are all completely cured with a trust plan.
Well, the trust certainly seems like a better way. Let me ask you this. Does it take long to put into place?
It does not. I mean, it certainly wouldn't take any longer than writing a will. When we do them, you just got to get a couple of meetings. We got to sit down and talk about it in one meeting. I call it a family vision meeting. And that's where, we discuss the family dynamics and their personal circumstances. And I pretty much designed the trust in that meeting where we talk about what is important to the trustors,
right,
people making the trust, and we reduce it to, language that we're going to put in the trust. Then, we put it off a couple of weeks for me to do that. I've got other things to do. And so in a couple of weeks, I'll have that ready and we'll have a signing. We'll put this agreement into place. Like I said, it's an agreement now during lapse. So we'll sign these documents, put it into place. After that, we just move the property into it, which I move half of it in there for you. So, it takes about another couple of days to a week for people to just move their bank accounts and their other property into the trust, and then it's a done deal. So really, a couple of hours on your time, of the individual's time associated with it. And it's not difficult because I'll guide you every single step of the way. I'll tell you exactly what questions people will ask, the answers and documents that you need to show them. If you have any difficulty, I'm there at the disposal to show up at the bank or get them on the phone, or I'll take care of it. So it really, it's pretty rapid. It's not that involved at all. So, there you have the pretty much trust versus a will, pros and cons of the probate process, which are mostly cons, and pros and cons of the trust process, which is mostly pros. It is a better way, in my opinion. It just solves so many problems, so much more versatility, so many more options that you can do and choose from. It's just a better way.
All right.
So anyway, that's what we do at Pachowski Estate Law, Pachowski Elder Law. I'm over there on the southeast side of the square. My number is 363-7222. I think there's sort of by popular demand, I've gotten a lot of phone calls if I would do one of my seminars on a weekend. So I think June 19th is a Saturday. I'm doing it at 10 o'clock in the morning. So that'll get advertised a little more as we get closer. But so if you haven't been able to make it during the week, we usually have them in Thursdays. I'm going to do it on Saturday, June 19th at 10 o'clock. So call the office and get on that list. I think we already got a couple on there.
And the number at the office?
363-7222.
All right, very good.
And you're welcome for the weather.
I was going to say, he does the weather sponsorship on our 5 o'clock news, and I think he'll do you right today.
And we'll announce that on days like today, but when it's stormy, we'll just kind of keep that to ourselves.
All right, good segment, Stan. Thank you so much. Let's switch gears over to your lovely wife, Tammy Pachowski. Tammy's Star Theater opening up again.
We are back, and we are extremely excited, and we've got a great lineup coming up, and I'll be brief today. I'll come back and talk to you later. But we've got this Monday night, May 24th at 6 o'clock. We're starting off with Dr. Ming Wang is coming to speak. I don't know if you all know Ming Wang. He is a world-class laser eye surgeon. He operates out of Nashville. He's a world-class ballroom dancer. He has just a beautiful story on Common Ground, and he has a Common Ground Bible study, and he's actually coming to speak with us about Common Ground and how ways that we can bring together. And through the times that we've been going through this last year and then some, healing is always a great thing, and his story is remarkable. So please come down, call the box office, 363-7222, and reserve your spot. We're kind of limited on seating because we are being careful there too. So please, come down and hear him at 6 o'clock on Monday night. We have camp going this year. We had to cancel last year, but we're back with camp. That's June 14th through 18th. Ages 7 and older, you can call the office again and get signed up for that. Again, limited space. You know, we are trying to be careful, but we have a great lineup. It's actually entitled Under the Sea. Might be a hint to a future production. Just a little hint there. And then lastly, we had our opening weekend, was 2 weekends ago. We did our Great Gatsby Murder Mystery Dinner Theater, where it's all interactive. You come in costume, you get assigned a part, you have a lovely meal, and we just had such a great time, and we sold it out. So we're doing it again on June 4th and 5th at 7 p.m. So call the office for information, 363-7222, and we'll see you at Star.
It is so exciting to see Star Theater opening back up again and you guys getting going again.
Yes.
And I can see the excitement in your face right there. I certainly
It's been
can.
a long, cold year.
Well, we'll have you back as you get closer
Thank
to
you.
some of these other events here,
Thank you
and
very
we'll
much.
certainly talk more about that, okay?
That's great.
Tammy Perchowski, also Stan Perchowski, thank you guys so much for being here. Stan, you have one more thing you want to add?
No, I just want to mention, we did the Gatsby thing a couple of weekends ago, and we would download sheets of the lingo of the 1920s, which is pretty cool, you know. And you try to, when you talk, you try to work that in, you know. And there's a lot of neat things. Like one of my favorite was they call a fire extinguisher. You know what a fire extinguisher is? It's a chaperone. Yeah, so it's just a really cool.
Oh,
really
yeah.
cool way.
Well, it's going to be fun from here forward with the
It
Star
is.
Theater.
We've
So
got it going. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much, Stan. We appreciate
Yeah.
you with your segment for Perchowski Estate Law. Every Thursday morning, you're with us at 8:30. We appreciate you so much.
Always a pleasure.
All right, thank you. Coming